Mishki here, joining the GL world to pitch my new podcast, which now comes out twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. The show features an extraordinary array of exotic circus performers, forgotten Hollywood starlets, reclusive Fortune 500 CEOs, professional taxidermists. Yep, wait a minute, that's a different promo. Where's the promo for GLers? Here it is. Let's try this again. Mishki here, pitching my new podcast. We're out of time? Could I do it again?
This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers. With me, as always, his name is Mike Fratelloni. Hello, Michael.
I never knew that 9/11, the 24th anniversary of 9/11, we'd have almost a bigger story to talk about.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to be a heavy show.
It is.
Today, so that's why let's do this. Let me get a couple of our friends out of the way. Not out of the way because they're so loyal to our show, and I want to be respectful
out
to
of
both
respect to them, right?
Out of respect to them and respect to the content. Let me talk about our friends at North American Banking Company right away. I love these guys. I made the decision to switch from my big national bank to my friends at North American Banking Company, and you know what? I think that you'll be happy if you decide to do the same thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're just looking for individual help with your finances or maybe you own a business. Either way, they're going to be able to take care of you and your family and, of course, your business. And that's because they're locally owned and operated. And that means that loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities. They are not sent out of state. So this helps business owners solve problems quickly and expand their business with confidence. And they deal with numbers every single day, but you, your family, and your business are never going to be one of them. So you can also see them in person at 6 Twin Cities locations, whether it's Roseville, 50th in France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, and Maple Grove. They offer all of the same services as the other big national banks, whether you're looking to buy a home, maybe finance a new home renovation project, or perhaps get that new car that you've been thinking about. My friends at North American Banking Company are going to be able to help you out. So check them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more. It's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender. Michael, yesterday I was sitting in the studio and we had just wrapped up Garage Logic. We had to record an emergency edition of Monday Night Sports Talk on a Wednesday because Patrick was out of town.
Okay.
And then that rolled into me sitting here to help produce Kenny's show. And I started to see the news that social commentator Charlie Kirk had been shot at a quote-unquote rally or an event at a campus in Utah. And I thought, oh, no. And it was one of those things where when you see a headline like that come across, sometimes you got to kind of reserve judgment. Sometimes you got to wait. Okay, well, how bad was it? For some reason, I knew it was bad right away. And the reason I thought that it was going to be bad right away is because I started to see the number of different outlets that were starting to report on this. And then I made the mistake of watching the video of him getting shot as he was talking to an attendee at this particular event. And there were thousands of college kids that were at this particular event for Turning Point USA, a foundation that he had started a number of years ago. And the overwhelming sense of sadness that then followed my initial shock by what happened. And I want to preface this by saying this. I'm not either a fan or a hater of Charlie Kirk. I'm just kind of in the middle. I think that someone that has a philosophy of putting God, country, and family first, well, I think that that's generally going to be a decent person. I didn't agree with everything he said, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I also didn't disagree with everything that he said. And I think that's the reason I'm so saddened by what I saw yesterday. And then, of course, after the fact that he was pronounced dead, everything that I saw then after that, whether it was people voicing praise and celebrating his death on social media, and I just thought, we are really, really in a bad spot in this country. And I say that because, we always try to think of that one thing that unified us. And unfortunately, 24 years ago, I think that the biggest horrific incident in this country that took place on September 11th of 2001, I do think that unified us to a certain degree. And I don't think that moment's ever coming again. And I will say this about the people that decided to celebrate the death of an individual, of a father, a husband,
a human,
and a guy that literally just tried to create a platform in which he was trying to protect free speech. And the fact that you're going to choose to celebrate his death, well, A, that speaks so much more about you as an individual, but B, it really casts such a dark light on the era with which we are currently living in the year of 2025.
I agree with you, Reavers. When the Hortmans died, I don't recall seeing a bunch of videos of people saying, and granted, they were not internationally known, right? The Hortmans were local, right? But everyone was praying for them, right? No one was saying, oh, we got them. No one was writing songs about getting them in the neck, right? No one was doing that. And here's what I fear, Reavers, and this is, I think, a legitimate thing. The echo chamber of media that you and I see is predicated to our predilections. It is right side of center. And it says, Mike, you like videos of Charlie Kirk schooling somebody about free speech or gun control. You like those videos.
DEI.
You like those videos, Mike. And someone on the left, to the far left, right? Any side on the left, gets a totally different view of Charlie Kirk. They get videos of people who hate Charlie Kirk picking apart Charlie Kirk, and they get fed a nasty Charlie Kirk. We get fed a Charlie Kirk that we like, right? They get fed a Bill Burr that's on their side. I get fed Bill Burr making jokes. And I think I'm not saying that anyone celebrating this is right. That's not what I'm saying. So I'm saying we don't even know what they know about Charlie Kirk because we're seeing something totally different. When you had 4, 5, 9, and 11, we all kind of got the same messaging, right? Now we're all getting purposely different messaging because it's saying, Mike, you like this. We're going to feed you more and more of that. Jenny on the left, you like this. We're going to feed you more and more of that. Is the chasm between us growing so big because the powers that be that run these media companies feeding us this algorithm, is it getting so big that we'll never come back in the middle again? Because they know the hatred from their point of view. And by the way, we do too. I didn't see a bunch of beautiful videos of Hillary Clinton kicking ass in a speech. I saw Hillary Clinton videos of her being weak, of her, spitting snot back into a cup because she's sick. I guarantee you the people on the other side didn't see those things.
I think the problem that we are now in, and I think the generation that we are currently raising, and I'm going to say, I don't want to say anybody under the age of 18, because that's unfair to people that are still trying to raise a child that's growing into an adult. But the current state of the 18, and I'm going to say to the 18 to the 35-year-old, which is the core market demographic for those of us in the radio business, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the young people that are trying to establish their new life as an adult. I think what's happening is we are finally seeing the generation that was raised on an iPhone, the generation that has been in front of a screen for almost their entire existence. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing the product of what and how damaging the world of social media can become. Because for someone to become so deranged that they think the only way to silence a voice that I currently disagree with is to pull a trigger, I am so fearful for what this world is going to become in 5 or 10 years, because, I'm raising 2 young boys and I've got my own beefs about them being in front of screens a lot. In fact, I just had this conversation last night with somebody about, I'm very worried about my 10-year-old being in front of a screen all the time. And anyway, we are treading on, I will say this, and I said this to Joe earlier today on Garage Logic. I'm fearful that this country is teetering on civil war, just based upon solely what happened yesterday, because I think many people's eyes were opened as to the level of not only dysfunction, but the level of psychosis in some of the... I was seeing people that I'm, quote unquote, friends with on social that were doing that. I thought, oh my God.
What are you doing?
You're insane. Okay, I know now that's not someone I can trust anymore, or that's someone I don't need to follow anymore. And it has nothing to do with them not agreeing with me politically. It has everything to do with this is how you choose to behave in a public forum upon a tragedy like this. And again, I'm not even saying I was a fan of this guy. I'm saying of what that incident yesterday represented.
Yeah. You didn't celebrate when the Hortons were killed.
Of course not.
Of course not. You didn't. You if you put up a message, it was that of condolence and prayers.
Much like I wouldn't do the same thing if, God forbid, someone of the likes who I completely disagree with politically, Tim Walz, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and we're not wishing anybody would do
but
that.
I'm saying even if that were to take place, I wouldn't even dream of that.
No.
Because you have the lack of empathy and the condition of the human spirit is what's got us into this mess in the first place. The loss of empathy. Sorry, Mike. The loss of empathy and compassion for your fellow man is exactly what made me so angry about what happened on the light rail train in Charlotte. This poor girl was just sitting in a frickin' chair. She was stabbed in the neck, and not one person around her attempted to help her. That's why this country is in such decay and is in such a mess right now that I'm going to be honest. I don't think we're ever recovering from this.
There's got to be a way out of this. I did see when I do believe that young people can say stupid things. You know why I believe that?
Because young people are stupid?
Because I said stupid things when I was young.
Sure.
Even I'm 54 years old. I probably said stupid things when I was 53 years old, right? But I was watching the video of Charlie getting killed, and I want to be really clear on this. When I first saw the video, I was pissed that AI existed. So I thought, what kind of animal would put up an AI video that looked like this? And then I found out it was real.
It was real.
And I don't normally want to have people watch videos like this, but I think it's critical that everyone does, because you need a little part of your soul to be blackened so you can say, that's what we're up against. This isn't rhetorical. This is something that happened. The man was instantaneously assassinated, basically. But if you pan out a little bit from a front-facing camera view, every student is on the ground except for this one boy who is standing up cheering that Charlie Kirk just got shot. What kind of mental deviant?
No, you're an animal at that point.
I don't even get how, wouldn't you have some fear for your own life? Shots were just fired. Right. Everyone hits the deck. And this guy is standing up cheering. I'm hoping to God that he just didn't know what happened. Right? Because it was almost instantaneous.
It was,
right?
Yep.
And I thought, what compels a person to see someone get murdered and jump into the air? And I this is going to be a really stupid thing, Reavers. Did you play those violent video games where it was constant first person shooter video games?
Somewhat. I mostly played sports games, but it's the very reason why I don't want my kids to play those first person shooter games.
You're probably too old. I'm too old. Is there any part of this that people don't take life seriously because they're used to seeing these images, albeit made up images, but they're used to seeing them for sometimes hours and hours a day, and they get so jaded by the deaths in those video games that it becomes not real to them?
You know what? Perhaps, but I think that there is such a deeper level of psychosis now that existed in a world that it did not exist, and I'm even going to say this, as recently as 15 years ago. And there's so many different things to blame. There's so many different outlets to blame. There's so many different people to blame. But I think that that's worth exploring. So just hang on to that thought for just a brief moment. And we're going to come back just after this quick pause. You're listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers. That's Mike Fratelloni, and we will be right back.
Football is finally back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Play with as little as $1, and you just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, and lots more. This year, I'll probably stick with some of my favorite players like Josh Jacobs of the Packers. He helped me win money last year by usually going higher on yards rushing. I'll be looking for him to again go higher on rushing yards. It's easy to pick, and it makes watching the games that much more fun. Download the app today and sign up with promo code GARAGE to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code GARAGE. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Promo code GARAGE. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
All right, here's why I said this before the break. First of all, let's make a quick mention to our friends at Masters Maples and mastersmaples.com. Breaking news with Masters Maples. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, you can get them at any one of Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores locations. The traditional pure maple syrup is available. The bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup is available, which, by the way, my 10-year-old, he said to me, because he eats the waffle sticks every morning.
Sure.
We had the very bottom left of it. He goes, well, Dad, don't buy that crap from the store. I want Masters Maples.
That's it.
And so
I
use
said, that term.
Yes.
And then you just slap them a little bit and say, hey,
really. No.
Don't tell me what to do.
Don't tell me what to do. No, I said, buddy, look right here in the cabinet. Yeah. I had one more bottle.
Oh, you got them all set up. Okay.
Also the maple sugar and also the sweet and savory seasonings and rubs. They are all available now at any one of your Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores locations. So we're excited about that.
That's, you know, there's only a handful of retailers that bends in Masters Maple. We have these beautiful displayers. We did some sampling. Sometimes we do sample Saturdays at our stores.
That's cool.
So we bought these little silver dollar pancakes, and we sold like 15 bottles in like 1 hour sampling.
Are you kidding me?
Just at one of the stores.
Oh, that's cool.
Because once people try it, it's nuts. We are doing some Find It at Frats where we're hiding bottles in the store, so people are getting bottles. In fact, my guy just texted me saying we had like 15 people come in, and I'm like, oh, we only gave away one bottle. So sorry for those other people.
That's cool. But if you're not able to make it in there, always order your bottle online at mastersmaples.com, and you can taste the difference. All right, let's get back to being heavy again. So
I'm checking the latest updates to see, because they were going to have an FBI
this morning
news press conference.
I thought I saw that as well.
Yeah, and they did push off the press conference because they said rapidly changing details.
Well, and again, this is one of those stories, as Joe always likes to say, it's got to be 72 hours, and there's going to be so much more information that circulates as a result of this external investigation. And that's what's just so sad, because you can keep checking and checking and checking, but then what you have to do is you have to make sure that you can trust what you're seeing.
Yeah, it says Utah officials postponed press briefing because of rapid developments in case. That was 60 minutes ago.
So the other aspect that I wanted to explore with this was the media's role in this particular story. And we saw, at least I saw, and I'm willing to be corrected, at least two people who were relieved of their duties. One was at MSNBC, and the other one was in print, and they were both relieved of their duties because of the way that they decided to react to this. And I'm thinking, even that plays a role in this, because for you to take it upon yourself and inject an inherent bias onto a particular story, you're not a podcast host. You're not.
That's news. This is entertainment.
News.
That's news,
and that's the part that bothered me so much. And I want to cite a specific example, because I cannot tell you how much this angered me yesterday. This took place about 16, maybe 17 hours ago. But shame on you, Star Tribune. Absolutely shame on you for what you did. And so the writer's name, and we've mentioned her on the Garage Logic podcast before. Her name is Dina Winter, and she goes by Dina Faye Winter on social media. And the piece that she wrote that was posted online on the Star Tribune, and
After Charlie's death,
and then was subsequently pulled off of their social media post, was absolutely shameful.
Sure.
And the headline alone should cause her to lose her job. And I don't do that. I don't call for people to lose their job because Lord knows I'm going to lose mine one day. But the headline said,
"You better not."
Charlie Kirk was slated to come to the University of Minnesota in 12 days. And that was the storyline.
Yes.
And her headline was, the conservative activist shot Wednesday has been lobbying Islamophobic attacks at Minneapolis mayoral candidate Omar Fateh since mid-July. And I went, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Time out here, Dina.
That's the story?
That's not the story.
That's the story? Yeah.
And the fact that Charlie, much like what you and I do and GL does, pointing out the flaws in a candidate like Omar Fateh, that's not Islamophobic, you idiot.
Yeah.
It's us pointing out the fact that this guy has been connected to several layers of fraud in his entire existence as a politician. The fact that his wife was connected to Feeding Our Future, the fact that his brother-in-law was sentenced to election interference. You can't sit there and label me and anybody else, including the likes of Charlie Kirk, as citing Islamophobic attacks, because that's the kind of liberal rag that horse crap newspaper has become. And it pains me to say that because I have friends that work there. I have a lot of friends that work there. And the fact that this is supposed to be a publication that represents the state that I have loved my entire life, I've lived nowhere else here, is so shameful. And if she continues to have her job, I will continue to go after her because she's a joke.
I keep going back to why. Why does she see it so differently than you and I do? And the only why I can think of, Reavers, is that what she is seeing and what she is hearing and what she is experiencing about all subjects are different than what we're seeing. She's living in a different reality. I'm not saying her reality is wrong, because I can't say mine's right. If we truly are living in different realities, media-wise, what we're getting fed all day long, Rivers, I need to find a why. I need to find a why to such a senseless act as the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And this is the only thing I can kind of come up with. You had some conspiracy theories that you might be right on. I'm not saying we can go into those in a little bit. But the simplest why is that I can come up with is some other people opposite of me are being fed something totally different than what I'm being fed.
Sure.
And I think that's right. If you take your friend's phone and you go for their For You page on Instagram, it's a totally different For You page than it is for me. Right? Do you know what I mean by For You?
100%.
You go there, mine's golf swings and chicks with abs. I mean, it's a lot of random stuff, right? I bet you every time I look at someone else's, if I look at someone else's from maybe the far left, it's completely different.
You look at mine and it's old baseball photos and
honest to God,
and funny cat videos.
You're experiencing reality differently than I'm experiencing reality. And people on the far left, and I'm not saying I'm a far right or center left, have a totally different reality than us.
But the one thing I not that I disagree with you at all, because I do not. But the other part that is that absolutely has to be pointed out is this: when the likes of Governor Walz on Labor Day weekend get up in front of a crowd and start saying, well, I was looking for good news today because there was this rumor that Trump's health was declining to the point where he might be in trouble. And he says, well, I didn't get the good news I was hoping for. You don't get to do that.
The left heard that as a funny joke.
Right.
We heard that as, ooh, you just wish the president's dead.
But you don't get to do that and then sit here and say, well, we just need to tone down the rhetoric. No, you're the problem. And you're the reason why the rhetoric has been escalated. For instance, how many different politicians on the left side have sat there and called Trump Hitler and have said anybody that either voted for him or follows him is a Nazi. Are you freaking kidding me? No, this is why we didn't want you in office. Because you don't see a prosperous America the way that I do. Because I'm gonna call it Tim Walz. Because you see the state that you have single-handedly destroyed. You want everyone to come here with their hand out and thinking, well, we'll just take care of everybody, and you poor saps as taxpayers, well, you just get to foot the bill for that. That's not the America. And Tim, by the way, when you moved here 10 years ago, whatever the hell it was, 15 years ago, I've been here a lot longer than you have. And Minnesota wasn't like this before then.
So I appreciate your passion on this, Rivers. I really do. I know.
And I'm harnessing a lot of it in, by the way.
We're just pissed. We're pissed.
Yes.
I have to have the answer. I go back to this thing called confirmation bias. It's the tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs and theories, right? We all have confirmation bias. When I see something that says, oh, people are calling Trump a Hitler, I say, well, I don't think Donald Trump's a Hitler. I think Donald Trump is a flawed individual, but I don't think he's Hitler. But when someone else sees that Donald Trump is called Hitler, their confirmation bias says he is Hitler. He is Hitler. You know what would be a cool thing to do, Reavers, is if we could mandate, this is one of those way out there thoughts.
Sure.
Mike, here's your internet and social media experience. Here's the equal and opposite social media that someone equally and opposite of you experiences. So you could see what the other side of someone who's on the other spectrum of you experiences. Because I truly, truly believe, Reavers, that all people are roughly the same. We are just being fed different shit at such an alarming rate. We are becoming hogs to this amount of information that's coming in, and our information is totally different. Totally different.
I agree with you, but I disagree with this part. When you say that, I think a lot of us are in the same spot. We just might teeter a little bit here and there. I think that's the 80% of us that are in the middle.
Sure.
I think the 10% that are on both extremes, those are the people that can't be helped.
Sure.
Those are the people that are just going to believe what they believe. There's no room for nuance. And I guess that's also why I was so bothered by what happened yesterday, because we have lost the ability to communicate in this world. And I mean that on so many levels, whether it's personal or whether it's whatever. We've lost the ability to communicate. Look at how take one day in your life, for example. If you're walking down the hallways of wherever you happen to work, what's happening? People are looking down, looking at their phone. Whether you're driving down I-94, everyone's looking at their phone. They're not looking up. Everyone is so addicted to their screens. We've become zombies. We now no longer. You've brought this up. We no longer go out and socially engage. We swipe right to look up a Tinder date. We don't engage in communication anymore, and that's why what happened yesterday happened. We've lost the world of nuance is gone. It's gone. You can't. You or I or whoever else, anybody, if they disagree with somebody, I'm not listening to it. No. I'm going to shut it down. And that's what Charlie Kirk built his entire platform on. Was here's an open microphone.
Sure.
Come sit down. Come engage with me. I'm going to listen to you.
Free speech just ended free speech.
Well, and also in the same vein, the people that have this hue and cry about we need to ban every gun on the planet just all celebrated him getting shot to death yesterday. So, I mean,
it's weird hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy is a really good word, because what's happened now is everyone isn't wrong anymore. Nobody is wrong anymore in their own minds. And we've lost the ability to learn. We've lost the ability to be educated on a particular topic. And you know what? I'm going to blame myself in some regard.
Or to change our minds.
Or to change your mind on anything. And it's become such a divisive, corrupt, toxic world. And it's mostly due to the political landscape of not only our country, but society in general, that I can't tell you how bothered I am by the direction we're heading.
Let me ask you this, because you consume more social media than I do. Have you seen an influx of posts about banning guns after Charlie Kirk got killed?
Not nearly to the degree that I did after Enunciation.
Right? And rightfully so,
Yep.
right? Enunciation was a tragic thing. But, and not saying that Charlie Kirk wasn't tragic, it was incredibly tragic.
I know, but I get what you're saying completely.
But the world didn't say, hey, we got to ban guns. We can't have this happen anymore. We can't have that. The people that want to ban guns, and I'm agnostic on this because I don't know the right answer. I got to be really careful. Let me tell you why I got to be careful. I don't have to be careful personally on these things because I'm not afraid of saying something stupid. I just don't know the answers. So I don't want to.
Nobody does.
Yeah, I don't want to say something yesterday and totally change my mind on it in 2 days because I'm not a flag in the wind, but I am willing to take new information and say, yeah, you know what? I could probably accept that. I could probably go for that. Reavers, I don't know if you saw the MSNBC segment where the guest that they had on said, we don't know if Charlie was shot by a terrorist or if it was one of his supporters shooting his gun out of excitement. Did you see that? And I thought, did they just air that? Charlie Kirk just got shot in the neck and you see him die almost instantaneously, right? I believe he probably was dead pretty quick, thank God. And someone got on and he was on a major news network, MSNBC.
Wow.
I think it was MSNBC, I'll have to double check. And he said maybe it was one of his supporters in celebratory gunfiring. Like, what?
No.
What? Is that their side? Is that what they see? And let me give you one example because I'm really trying to talk you into this, that we live in two different worlds. Because I truly think, and when you say, how are we going to get back together? I don't know if we are because we live in two different worlds. If you, this is not an abortion issue. I'm not making a point on abortion. If you're pro-life, you probably see pro-life spots on your feed. You probably never see pro-choice feeds. If you're pro-choice, you probably never see pro-life spots on your feed. You see things that feed your confirmation bias, and you see on both ends.
Yep.
So there is no coming to the middle in that. Everybody, that was the one thing about politics is they always said that, it's two sides, right? There's left and there's right. And it's the only thing in the world that I can think of that both the left and the right think they're 100% correct on the subject.
Yeah.
There is no where I think someone on the whatever side they are, where I say, oh, I really would like to learn their points, right?
Yeah.
I always think I'm right. So this chasm is really going to be hard to get past.
All right, hang on to that thought for just a brief moment. That's Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. This is the Weekly Scramble, and we will be right back. All right, I want to wrap our show up here with a topic that I wanted to spring on you. I didn't even waste it on Joe.
Oh, you didn't?
I brought it just for you.
You're going to waste it on me.
another tentacle.
Okay.
That which I want to explore this deeply with you.
Sure.
But first, I want to talk about our friends at We Are Nuts and wearenutsmn.com. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, through the end of the month of September, We Are Nuts are on sale 25% off at all Kowalski's Markets and Lunds & Byerly's. That's right. You can see those displays at Lunds & Byerly's located in the product section. So right now, through the end of the month of September, Kowalski's Markets and Lunds & Byerly's 25% off. But you can also get them at your local Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores locations. And maybe you're outside of the metro and not close to any one of those. Well, then just go online to wearenutsmn.com. Hey, by the way, what's the closest frats to this location? Grand?
A couple on Grand or Arden Hills.
Because we ran out of cinnamon.
Okay.
And I've been telling the boys I'll stop and get some for them on the way home.
You go to New Hope or something on your way home, right? Down 169?
Oh, perfect. That's exactly what I'll do. I'll go to the New Hope location and get the cinnamon toffee peanuts because, boy, oh boy, they have created a monster with my two boys, and they are not going to be satisfied until I come home with cinnamon toffee peanuts, but that's probably what I will do. It's the best snacks made right here in the great state of Minnesota and a wonderful family-owned operation. They are the absolute best. So place your order, or like I said, stop in any one of those locations and get your supplies stocked up for this weekend of football with We Are Nuts and wearenutsmn.com. So one of the things, Mike, that I had been thinking about with this, and there's all these different angles you can take, right? Okay, the who, what, when, where, and why.
Sure.
With why this happened, with how it happened, and everything else. And one thing that I don't think has been explored enough, because in this world social media superstardom, and everyone wants to just be noticed, and everyone wants to be an influencer on TikTok, and everyone wants attention, and everyone would love to have a college campus of thousands of people admiring them.
Sure.
The other angle that I don't think has been explored enough with this is jealousy.
Okay.
The platform that he created and the audience that he has cultivated and every other aspect that's come along with it, financial, fame, social media presence. This could also, there's also that angle of, remember this episode of Conan O'Brien years ago? Joe's brought it up a couple of times where Bono is on the set of Conan O'Brien and he says, the American landscape is different than it is in Ireland, and I'm going to tell you why. In Ireland, someone's going to see a mansion on the hill and say, boy, I would love to be able to one day have a house just like that. And then in America, it's like, I'm going to get that bastard.
Yeah.
That's what I guess what I'm basing that upon is I don't want to go out and create on my own. I don't want to work hard, work long hours, sacrifice different things because I have the ability to create that on my own. I'm just choosing to be rooted in jealousy.
Sure.
And I'm wondering if that plays a role in this as well.
You know, I hope jealousy wouldn't drive someone to assassinate another person.
Well, no kidding.
Right?
I hope not either.
But you had come out with a conspiracy theory when we started talking. And at first I looked at you like, Reefers, what is wrong with you? But then you kind of started to make sense. Charlie Kirk was a very, very, very powerful person. He is probably responsible for getting Donald Trump elected for the second time.
One of the reasons for sure.
I mean, he is. But if he meant a couple of percentage points of young men voting for President Trump.
I'll hear before you keep going. I will say there are two people that had the biggest influence on Donald Trump getting elected. It's Charlie Kirk and Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan.
No question.
Exactly. And they both had, if they each were 1%. But Charlie Kirk wasn't going backwards. Many people believe that Charlie Kirk was destined to become president, right? They really believe that. So you expressed some larger things in your, tell me, I don't want to put words into your mouth, and don't say it like you know it's true. Even though in your soul, I think you know it's true. Explain to me your theory of who would orchestrate a killing like this. Do you feel comfortable doing that?
Okay.
And tell everybody that's listening and watching that this is a far out there thing. Or is it?
Are you saying what I said earlier during GL?
What you said to me when we were talking earlier.
I do think that. Okay.
This is bigger than a lone lunatic.
And not only is it bigger than a lone lunatic, there are images now that have surfaced of someone being on a roof with a targeted scope and the long gun and everything. And all I keep thinking about is, okay, well, wait a minute here. In this day and age of hypersensitive technology and able to pinpoint a location with a cell phone to the nth degree, I have such a hard, and again, I am the firm sole recipient of the tinfoil hat network, and everyone that wants to wear one, you're welcome aboard.
Sure, come on in, yeah.
And I'm not Alex Jones. I'm not that nuts.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is I don't believe anything anymore. And for me to sit here and say, oh, yeah, this was a lone gunman that was a nut job, I kind of equate this in very different circumstances. I kind of equate this to what happened with Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think in some cases, whoever it is, whoever they are, they view Donald Trump as a threat.
Sure.
I think that's, I can't imagine anybody could disagree with me on that. And I think to a certain degree, many people view Charlie Kirk as a threat. I don't happen to be one of them. But what I'm saying is, damn olive oil. But what I'm trying to say is, I do think that there are people out there that do have that viewpoint. And I'm going to tell you why. I said this earlier today, and I think it is worth repeating. This surfaced, I think, originally back in early September.
Okay.
But Charlie Kirk was on his show, and he was starting to notice something. And he was talking about the Epstein files on his show. And his quote was, this is a direct quote from his show. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with what he is saying. I am saying I can see now why some people might have viewed him as a threat.
Sure.
And this is no longer just speculation, Charlie Kirk says. This is a direct quote. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, or American intelligence, everything is now connected, end quote. And we've seen how whatever this Epstein list is trying to be eliminated by everybody. Everybody wants this to go away. And of course, the only people that don't want it to go away is the American public.
Sure.
And whether that has anything to do with what happened yesterday or not, what I'm trying to say is you are never going to convince me that all of this stuff is not connected and that someone, whoever it is, it could be one person, it could be 5,000 people. I have no idea. But someone wanted him to go away. That's
Other than this lone lunatic.
And again, because I argue, I love Johnny Haidt. He's one of my favorite people that I work, and I'm not calling him out specifically. I'm just going to use him as an example. And how he and I argue about this stuff all the time. And he shares the opinion of a lot of people. And that's great. That's what makes conversation brilliant. And and conversation is what has given me a career.
Sure.
Right? But what I'm trying to say is I just don't believe anything anymore. Because if somebody is trying to tell me something, they're obviously trying to hide something else. That's the viewpoint that I always have. It's reporter 101. Why is this person lying to me? And that can deal with. I had that very conversation 25 years ago when I first got into this business with a very, very, very good sports reporter that said you have to go into every interview and say, why is this person lying to me? And I have applied that to basically every facet of my broadcasting career.
Sure. Okay. So
Did I answer your question?
I think you did. So, and I'm going to go down, and I'm not trying to pin you into a
let's do it.
Tinfoil hat thing.
Please.
You think that this person who killed Charlie Kirk had something to potentially do with the Epstein files?
What I'm saying
or just
is
this network of people?
I think it's this network of people, and this guy was just the person pulling the trigger. That this person was representing whoever it is.
Sure.
The overarching, this guy's got to go. And it's, okay, you've seen the Bourne movies, right?
Yep.
This person was acting on behalf of, okay, I'll go this route. I guarantee we never find this guy or gal, whoever pulled the trigger.
I think we might find him by the end of this show, potentially.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, I think they probably already know who he is.
Well, but, okay, if they do... then I want to know. I want to know the who, what, when, where, and why. And if okay, let's put it this way: the Butler, Pennsylvania shooter. What did we learn about that person after they pulled the trigger?
Pretty much nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. No.
Every speck of that person, online, social media, whatever, scrubbed. We learned nothing about that person, and those are the little things that leads me to believe that we're being played. We're being played by whoever is really in control.
Sure.
And again, I try really hard not to sound like a lunatic. I'm not kidding. But how can you can't trust anything anymore. You just can't.
Let me ask you one thing about the Epstein files, because you brought it up and it kind of relates.
Sure.
The victims of the Epstein files, like those girls that just had a press conference the other day, right? The young women, and some were
which is what I believe sparked that conversation on Charlie's show.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what I don't get about them is, why don't they just name the people that abused them? Why don't they just say, XYZ guy did it?
I can help you.
Tell me. I mean, why
do you think?
I don't know why they don't do it. They're there and I believe that they were victims. I don't think they all think they're going to die. I don't think that's the case. I do. Well, somebody named Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz sued them a bunch, and a whole bunch of nasty things happened to that person. So I could see the threat of a lawsuit. But if every one of them, if there's like 40 of them, I'm making that number up, but it's a big chunk, and they all said, I don't want to pick a name just in case it's going to be a person's real name. They all said, this guy did it. Are they going to go kill 40 of them? I don't believe that. I don't believe it. Here's why I don't believe that.
But if you were one of those victims, are you willing to risk it?
I think you'd kind of have to be. And some of them have huge settlements. Out of the Epstein, you know that those girls settled, and maybe there's a gag order on their settlement, so they can't say anything. And they even said, in their press conference, you just wait because the information's coming. Why wait? If you were abused by somebody, say their name. Just go ahead and say it. And maybe I just don't understand how that works. Yeah. And maybe there's something bigger that I just don't get. I do usually like to believe that the simplest answer is the most correct answer, right? That a lone lunatic shot up Annunciation. A lone lunatic killed the Hortmans. A lone lunatic killed Charlie Kirk, right? It actually makes me feel somewhat better to think it's a lone lunatic instead of a conspiracy that's much greater than all of us. But I think
the lone lunatic can be the answer, while the lone lunatic is a cultivation of all of these different things, where the Annunciation shooter was someone that had been talked into transitioning from a man to a woman to writing in a manifesto that in concert with my addiction to marijuana really messed up my brain. And mental health is the number one crisis right now plaguing our country and our existence, where all of that can all be true at the same time.
Yeah, I can see, if I'm going to go conspiracy theory on you, Reavers, I can see some entity saying, let's feed this stuff to that person. Let's feed this information to them.
But are you
through
making
social media?
Are you making the mistake, though, of thinking that all of these entities that are out there have the common good at heart? Because that's one thing I don't believe.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing how anybody wins if... I'm not even calling it the United States anymore. I'm just calling it the States of America, because we are not united at the moment.
That's a good point.
We are not united.
Not at all.
I don't see who wins if we go into the shitter. I don't get it. China doesn't even win, because then we don't buy all the trinkets from them. Russia doesn't really win because, I don't know what benefit Russia would win. They'd win we finally won the Cold War, right? We came back.
I wish I had the answer for you.
This is a really horrible topic. I bless his family. I just pray for those kids, seeing that beautiful wife and those little kids, and I think his mother's still alive. I just absolutely feel so horrible. I just was I was so close to crying yesterday in public, right? And I said, you can only do that if you get an arm cut off, right? That's the only time you can do that. Or lose a dog, right?
Yep.
Or your kid scores a home run or something. Right. You can only do it then. But I was so close to crying, and then I just got pissed. For America.
Well, if what happened yesterday did not elicit a reaction from you, then I don't know what's going to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not joking. I'm fearful, and Lord knows I hope I'm wrong. I do think we're on the verge of a civil war.
Yeah, and I would ask you, who's fighting whom?
But that's the thing. I don't know, and we might very well already be there. I mean, all of these
might have already started. You just don't know.
Yeah, all these horrific incidents that we've already seen unfold in public, and unfortunately, the only way you're seeing these is because of social media. But Lord knows we might already be in it. I have no idea.
If you're a young man watching this right now, listening to us, go find yourself a girlfriend, get married, have babies, live the dream.
Yep.
Live the dream, because that's one way we're going to get out of this, Reavers. Because people are not going to be so soul-centric.
Sedentary.
Right? And centric on their own. They're going to look at their kids and they're saying, I don't have time to look at the internet. I got to go to basketball practice again. Right? Reavers, I love you. You're the best. Have a great day.
Please do us a favor, rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. It helps other people find the show, and it helps us out as well. And you know what? Do me one more favor this week before you hear from us the next time. Call somebody you love them, tell them you love them, and hug the ones that you love the most, near and dear. His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. This is the Weekly Scramble podcast. We'll talk to you again next time. Until then, cheers.